I don't need a whole elaborate thesis for this video. Rhythm games are amazing. There's a ton of genres that I can confidently say I'm a big fan of, but none are as simple and enjoyable almost every single time as rhythm games. There's simply something satisfying and entertaining about pressing something at the right time, synced to bouncing music that gets me, and that's one of my favorite genres to pick up any time, regardless of my mood. So fuck it, let's talk about that for another boring, dry video. Rhythm games honestly need 3 solid details for them to work in my book. Good music, rhythmic gameplay that complements the music, and appealing visuals. Firstly, great music. No rhythm game can really exist without music, and none can be entertaining without the music being good. Half of the game of playing a fun rhythm game is funking to the soundtrack, and if that soundtrack sucks gorilla balls, I'm not even gonna press start on your menu, much less try and sit through it for hours on end. Persona 5 Dancing in Starlit is a perfect example of this. As a series, Persona has always had some of the best music I've ever heard. So good that it breaks into my playlist more than once in a while, so a rhythm game based on the game's soundtrack would really have been an obvious choice. The gameplay fits the bill, and you really start bumping to the soundtrack. All of its music is incredibly catchy, even with its varying styles of rock, EDM, jazz, and hip-hop. Outside of the goofy as hell dancing that goes on in the background that now reminds me of Balan Wonderworld's stupid dance sequences, the game is filled to the brim with Persona 5's amazing bass music as well as some killer remixes and variants, motivating the hell out of you as the player to play the game and want to master it. This was one of the first games I wanted to pick up this summer for my PS4, which both goes to show my terrible priority both as a collector and financially, but I'm satisfied to have a slapping Persona game for my system, considering everything else in the series is basically half of my part-time paycheck. Great music is integral to getting you into the beat and rhythm, the core aspect of rhythm games as a genre. That should be pretty obvious. If you're making a game based entirely around music, without good music, what's the point in playing it? What is the point of it existing? What the fuck? Thumper. I honestly could go this entire video and use Thumper solely as an example for every one of the 3 necessities of a fantastic rhythm game. Thumper is a hardcore bass blasting game where your reactions are put to the test as you roll through seemingly endless levels. This game pulls its cards in its psychedelic visuals and its intensity, and while it seems simple from the very beginning, it becomes more and more challenging incredibly quickly. Very early on, levels become completable purely by the skin of your teeth. Your rhythm isn't a repeated pattern like most other rhythm games, and Thumper repeatedly pulls you into a false sense of security by repeating input patterns just to immediately shake it up and toss you a curveball. Its unstable gameplay keeps you on your toes while still staying true to the rhythm of the rest of the music. This game can genuinely be sinister at times, although it's a satisfying game to learn and master. Finally, a game has to have good visuals. Sure, this one might seem pretty odd of a take considering we're talking about rhythm video games, but think about it. Rhythm games aren't solely audio-based, so having clear visual cues are equally important in cluing you in when audio might not be so simple or clear-cut. Great animation pairs hand-in-hand with audio with rhythm games, giving you something to watch, react to, or play, and majority of games, if not all rhythm games, would genuinely be impossible to play without these cues. Take, for example, Sayonara Wild Hearts. From the moment I picked this game up out of the blue at a GameStop, I instantly fell in love with it. The music is top tier, and again some of my favorites from any video game soundtrack ever, tied in with its visuals are what give this game its charm. Besides just there being a somewhat symbolic plot, the visual art style and perspective you take changes wildly throughout the game, and it rarely hangs on one mechanic or system too heavily without throwing in something new to the mix. In one level you get a motorcycle, and a few levels later you get guns added onto your front, turning sections into almost a shooter. Then you're moving around in a 2D space, dodging the setting as it moves on its own, drifting and speeding down a desert road in a car. Each and every level is amazing in its own way, both stylistically and with its musics, and each really fit the context so perfectly. It makes every single level unique in its own way, preventing the scenario of stale repetitive gameplay that plagues its genre, and has a ton of replay value for getting those gold ranks on every single song. The art style is colorful without being tasteless, and it holds really tightly to its stylistic direction for each level, complementing the mood of the music. I guess you could say Sayonara Wild Hearts is truly a timeless masterpiece. Wait, wrong video.